And we are live. Hello, everybody, or nobody, or whoever's in the chat.
It's not live on YouTube yet.
I'm kind of waiting for my. Boy, I must be like really slow. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, we have a special guest tonight. Grasshopper is my co-host, at least for a while, and he's all prepared with the ears and everything. Show him the ears.
This is the extent of my arts and crafts. I went to the dollar store. These are dollar store parts.
Did you make those yourself?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. Awesome. Well, show them the lights.
I had to fix them too. The lights weren't working right.
Oh my gosh, I need some of those myself. That is perfect. So it looks like we only have a couple people in chat. I don't know.
The sky here?
We got Sky. Chappie went to bed. He's still working. Anthony, hi. If you wanted to come up, Anthony, you're welcome to. Hi, Sandy. Bob is not here tonight because he needed to take a break. Hi, Chew. Which we cannot blame him. He needs to relax once in a while. That guy, I don't know if you guys realize how many streams he does and works hard to get guests and stuff for, and then also mods on a bunch of channels. So when he said that he needed a break to just relax tonight, I totally don't blame him. Ed is not here tonight, of course, because of the big art or the big fish show that's going on. A lot of people are at that, so it might be a really quiet night. Hi, Jessica Socks. And I think I said hi to Sandy and Anthony. And if anybody wants to come up, the link is posted at the top. But I've got my fireball ready to go. And I thought if it's too quiet, we'll just like do some artwork and talk about the different stuff, because I don't want to like be like I'm trying to brag on my artwork or something, but sometimes it's interesting to talk about the subject matter and stuff and how it came about. So I thought we could do that. And Wednesday night I did it. People seem to like it. Hi, Mark. You could come up, Mark. The link's up at the top if you want to come up on panel. It's just going to be kind of a quiet night tonight. But like I said, I thought I could. Wednesday night I did oil painting, some of them. And so tonight I thought if it's too quiet, we'll do some drawings and talk about the different subject matter and stuff. So flashy, yes. Grasshopper is flashing us tonight. So if anybody doesn't know the guest on the panel right now, his name is Sam, or Grasshopper, or why are we always yelling? I call him Grasshopper because he's been my trainee. And yeah, so that's who's up here with me. And if anybody else wants to come up, you're certainly welcome to. So, how hot is it in Northern California, Grasshopper?
It was 105. 105.
Oh, shit.
Oh, crap. I think you do the source and then
You're sideways. There you go. Now you're right side up. A little bit pixely, but not too bad. So, yeah, it was 85 here today, which was totally miserable.
Yeah, it was. The temperature said 199, but it felt like 105. Is what it said. And it
I know it's like in the triple digits in
I don't know how to fix
like the whole
echo.
Pacific Northwest, I think.
Am I still echoing? I sound like I'm echoing.
I don't hear an echo, but my ears are not the best. I have been fighting off what I believe is an ear infection with being dizzy and stuff. Today, though, I'm a little bit better today. I can move my head without feeling like somebody slapped me, and I can walk a little bit easier today. I did have one little issue where I bent over to get something and I almost blacked out, but that was just one time during the whole day, so that wasn't so bad. And Monday, I think I'm going to get the last of everything mailed because I still have a few things to mail, and they're going to go out Monday if I'm still good like I am now. So that's what's happening with the latest saga of Pam is getting damn old and not very healthy.
Has the echo fixed itself? I still hear it.
I still hear just not really an echo, but you sound a little bit hollow sounding, or I don't know if it qualifies as an echo or not, but it's not real bad.
Is that better? Nope.
Yes, yeah, I think so. I can hear you better. Don't stress about it. It's not the end of the world. It's the ears. They're grabbing the sound and bouncing it back. Hi, Sky.
Turn them on.
Oh, that cracks me up. That is so perfect.
See, yours don't even do that.
Hmm?
Yours don't even do that.
No, mine don't light up, but they got sequins on them.
Mine are made from paper plates and dollar store party bow.
Oh, cool. So did you get like a headband and then glue the paper plates on it and the bow? The headband?
Yeah, double-sided tape.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty clever. Oh, I made my oldest daughter, who, by the way, turned 45 last week. My oldest daughter is 45. 45. Can we believe that shit? But I made, when she was in the first grade, I took her trick-or-treating, and I got her a headband. I always made my kids outfits. But, so I got her a headband, and they had these things that were in style that had like springs on the headband with little balls on the end, so they were like little dingle balls on the end of springs on a headband. So I got one of those. And then I got her a white wig, and I painted her face green with polka dots. And then I had like they used to have these, which I know they don't do anymore. They used to have these silver blankets that you would lay out in the sun on to increase the sun exposure for tanning, which of course they don't do anymore because now they know that's not good for you. But I had one of those, so I cut a head hole in it and tied it around her so she had like a silver outfit and she was like a Greek Martian. It turned out pretty cute. I was taking her trick-or-treating. Oh my god. Jessica, bless her heart, she's always been a little bit tends towards hypochondriac when she was younger. So I took her trick-or-treating, and this one old guy answered the door, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you are so cute." And he says, "Step in the door here, and I want to get her something special." So we stepped in the door, and he got a stool and stood up. Hi, Mike. And he stood up on the stool and got down a full-size Hershey bar, like a big one, you know. And he put that in her trick-or-treating basket. And she looked up at him, and to my horror, She said, and I'll never forget this, she says, "Thank you very much. Chocolate gives me the shits, but I'll give it to my daddy." I was like, oh my God, can I just like crawl in a hole now and die? Because kids are so wonderful.
The houses that gave away full-size candy bars were the best during Halloween.
Yeah. Now the full-size candy bars are a lot smaller than they used to be. And I am so old that I remember when the big candy bars were 5 cents. 5 cents a piece. When I was like a teenager, like 12, 13 years old, would buy them because I worked out in the berry field, so I always had my own money. But yeah, candy bars were 5 cents. And you know those Hostess pies?
I'm sorry?
They were big. Those Hostess pies that they sell, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, those were a lot bigger then when they first came out. And they had a lot more filling in them. They were a lot better. They aren't so good anymore, but they used to be like big and full of stuff. And they were 12 cents a piece. Hey, Priscilla. Well, when you get done closing, if you get home, if I'm still going on, you can jump on with us because we're just talking. Dryer's ice cream decrease in size. I know everything is decreasing in size, but those Hostess pies used to be like super big and really good and just like absolutely full of the stuff inside was like a lot of it. Now you get one that's little tiny and there's just a little bit of dried up stuff inside of it. It always pisses me off. Plus they're at least $1 a piece and they used to be 12 cents a piece. And the full-size candy bars are like half the price that they used, or half the size that they used to be, and they're $1.49. And I remember when they were 5 cents a piece. Which just goes to show you I'm just getting older than hell.
I'm sorry for anybody with light sensitivity, epilepsy, in chat.
Bob wanted to take a break tonight and relax, Sky, and I don't blame him a bit because I don't know if everybody realizes how much he does online every week. I mean, he's got like on Wednesdays, he has his own, he does a stream, and then he's on my stream, and we mod Dan's Fish's stream, which takes a bit. And then on Fridays, he does the reptile stream with us. And then on Sundays, he does like a Fish Mafia stream where he always has guests. So there's not only all his streaming and then all of his, all the times that he mods and stuff. And he's got a god awful amount of fish and animals to take care of every day too. And then he works at the Ark, volunteers at the Ark, taking care of puppies and stuff and taking them to the vets and all that stuff. So yeah, he needs a break once in a while. So he needed a break tonight. So that's just a good thing. When he needs a break, he needs to take a break. So I hope he like gets some good rest. Exactly. I'm surprised he doesn't burn out with the amount of stuff he does online. Plus, you know, he posts at least one video a day, sometimes 2 a day. So, yeah, he keeps himself pretty busy. I don't know how he does it. So, when he said he needed a break, I'm like all for it. And he doesn't periodically miss like I do when I'm not feeling good. I just don't do anything. So anyway, so that's what's going on with the Bob. So, I don't see anybody else coming up. Is it okay with you, Grasshopper, if I go ahead and show some of my artwork?
I prefer
it. Does anybody not want to see it? Because I don't have to show it.
I think everybody wants to see it.
Probably not, but we'll show it anyway while we talk. So I'm going to show you some of my drawings. Now, the thing to remember is this is just out of my files, so they're in no particular order. And sometimes I might have to flip through doubles because this is just my files of photographs of my
So,
drawings. So there's,
so
like I
last
say,
week
they're in
was
no
oil
particular
paintings.
order. What?
Last week was oil paintings. This week is drawings.
Yeah, Wednesday night I
Right.
did oil paintings. Yeah, so I might do some of
Okay.
the drawings. So this one is a drawing. I don't remember. I think it was a full sheet of the. It's on handmade bark paper, and I think it's a full sheet. So it's probably around 15 by 23, somewhere in that neighborhood. And it is a Conte crayon drawing. Now Conte crayon is it's different from. I know you need to get a pair of mouse ears too, Mike. But Conte crayon is it's not it's different from colored pencil, and it's different from pastels. It's kind of like a cross between crayon and pastels. It's got a different texture to it, but it is one of the oldest mediums. I mean, if you look in museums and stuff, you'll see Conte crayon drawings like from France and stuff. I mean, it's a really, really old medium. And it comes, you can get it in all colors, but I've always only gotten browns and like sepia tones and browns. And when I do a Conte crayon drawing, it's usually just in brown tones, like this one here is.
Mm-hmm.
And this drawing is just of three rodeo horses that were tied up to the chute in the middle of the day, with the ropes and stuff hanging off of them. Now, this was from the Dow, so it's a fairly old drawing. And it's even older, the reference photo is even older, so probably some of the gear on the horses and stuff is like way outdated from what they use now, but it is what it is. Like I say, it's just a drawing of some horses tied up to the loading chute in the middle of a rodeo. If you have any comments, throw them out there, Grasshopper.
I'm just admiring right now. If I do have questions, I won't hesitate to ask.
Okay, what am I doing here? I don't even know where I'm at. Okay. Okay, I need to. I'm a newbie at this kind of shit. Okay, this drawing is of a old guy that was doing a demonstration at the Massachusetts County Fair when I was there. I believe, actually, he's got a piece of pottery in his hand, but I'll tell you a little story about this. He wasn't actually a potter. He was working with metal, like making hinges and stuff for his demonstration. But there was a lady that was doing pottery, and he was over in her stall flirting with her when I took the photo that I used for reference. And so I don't remember the size of this drawing. This drawing is in a book of art, though, that's called Modern Masters or something like that. They put this drawing in that book and a little biography of me. So, and I've got that book somewhere, but it's probably in storage. So that's it for that drawing. And this is charcoal on the cream colored paper. This was done before I discovered the bark paper, because I always experimented, got different kinds of paper all the time. And
Can you make the pictures
once I
bigger?
found the bark paper, I kind of quit using other stuff. What's that?
Can you make the pictures bigger? Or are they?
I don't know.
You've done it before, I know that.
I can try. I can go like this.
Yay.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
See much more detail.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Like I say, this one is charcoal. And this is some baby cottontail bunnies just sitting. They were actually sitting underneath a wood pile at one of my friend's houses in the hot summer sun, just some baby cottontails, and it's called Three Amigos. This one, there's a little bit of a story about. This one I did for, it was supposed to be a benefit for a horse rescue place that was having some financial issues. So somebody came up with the idea of doing like a collage of drawings and stuff or paintings from different people, and everybody got a different colored square, and when you put all the squares together, it formed a big drawing of like a horse's head. You know what I mean? It's like a bunch of artists contributed, and then when they were put on display and were all put together, it made a big painting. So I volunteered to donate to it, and this is the drawing that I did for it. And then I signed over and gave them rights to make prints of it and all that stuff, so I can't really make any prints of it or anything, because I gave them the rights to do that to help support their sanctuary. And the drawing it is again in Conte Crayon, and it's on a board. And the board was painted that golden color with a little bit of pinkish hue to it. So I did a sunrise picture from a ranch that I used to go to once in a while. It was in Arlington, Oregon. And the old guy there was the rancher. And it said at daybreak. And he's like, they're getting the horses saddled up and ready to ride out and go look for cows. So that is what that one is. Instead of grasshopper, it should be rat boy from now on. Well, it's not a rat, it's Minnie Mouse ears, or Mickey Mouse ears, or Mickey Mouse ears. And no, I don't. I never got a picture of the. You mean like all the pieces compiled together for the painting? I didn't get one of them. I know that they sent me a couple times. They were in Texas, and they sent me a couple times in different places that they were showing it. So that is that one. Am I boring everybody yet?
Nope, not at all.
So this one is a young colt that my friend had, and his name was Dexter, and I thought he was pretty cute, so I did a charcoal drawing of him. And like I said, it's charcoal, and not too much else to say about it. It's just a young colt. And of course, I did it from the butt end because everybody knows that I like to do horses' butts. This one is that is a purebred Arabian colt and mare, and it belonged to a friend of mine when I lived in Eastern Washington. The horse, the colt, and they raised him and showed him at horse shows and stuff. And this guy was 1 day old, and I went out to see him, and he was a total show off. He ran circles around the arena, like kicking up his back legs and having fun and showing off. And then he stopped and was snorting and blowing at me. But of course, he stopped right by Mama for protection. So that's what this drawing does. And when I did this drawing, it's just charcoal and it's on a paper. I think you can barely see it. It was on like a super light gray paper with black specks all over in it. And I used the paper in the drawing because the mare was like gray mares get a lot of times. She's like got speckles all over her. So I kind of incorporated that and blended her into the background so that the colt stood out. So that was kind of how I did this drawing. It kind of worked, I think.
Beautiful.
So, and I showed this drawing at the Ames Museum in Massachusetts. They had a show, and the Ames Museum was Mr. Ames was like a botanist, and when he died, he left his house and estate to the state, and they made a big park. And then the Ames Museum is the old stone house that kind of looks like a castle sitting in the park, and they have a art show every year. And this one won Best in Show when I entered it.
Awesome.
And this one I did on a piece of canvas paper. It was like 18 by 24, and it's called The Team. And when I did this drawing, I swore that I would never, ever, ever do draft horses again because it takes forever to do all their harness and stuff. But I love draft horses, so as you guys can probably guess, I have done them again. And this one won first place at monthly show that was put on by the Artists of Cape Cod Art Club, and it was a pretty prestigious art club. You have to apply to get in and stuff, and they don't take that many new members or anything. But this one I won Best in Show with. You want to hear a story about that?
About that picture?
About the Best in Show with the draft horses.
Definitely.
When I was living on Cape Cod, I was kind of living with an idiot. Okay, let me catch up on the chat. Oh, hi, Father Fish. Thank you. We're just kind of killing time because everybody's at the art show this weekend, so I thought I'd show some of my art stories about it. But anyway, okay, with the draft horse picture, when I got Best in Show, I was kind of living with this guy that was kind of an idiot. And he was an artist, but he had applied a bunch of times and couldn't get into the art club. They never accepted him. So he was a little bit jealous of my art stuff. And when they called me the day before to make sure that I was going to be at the opening, because they always had, like an opening dinner and stuff. Well, not dinner, but they'd have an opening with champagne and stuff every month for the new art show coming up. So they wanted to make sure I was going to be there, so they called and left me a message that I won Best in Show, and please make sure I came to the show. So that was on a Friday night. So I asked him if he wanted to go with me, and he said no, he didn't want to go with me. So then when I was getting ready to go to the art show, and I got all dressed up with knee boots and a skirt and stuff, he decided he didn't want me going by myself. I don't know what he thought I was going to do at an art show, but I got all gussied up for it, so I couldn't go by myself. So he decided he was going to go, so he drove. And we got to the art show a little bit early, of course, so I could look at the art and everything. So he did a quick walk once around the art and then told me he was going to be out in the car waiting for me, so get my prize money and get the hell out there. So it was kind of embarrassing because, they had the award ceremony and they called out the winners, and it was $600 prize money, which was kind of nice. But as soon as the award ceremony was over, I was like flocked with people saying they've been looking at my artwork every month. And they were so happy to finally be able to meet me and all that stuff. And I had to like excuse myself in the middle of it and leave, which just pretty much sucked. But anyway, so that's a story on that. So then, speaking of that, with the drawing of the, I'll tell you this story because it's funny. It's about the same guy.
Can you make that one bigger?
Huh?
Can you make that one a little bigger?
You want to see that? Yeah, I'll tell about this one in just a second here. Hang on, I'll make it.
Perfect.
Okay. So back to the drawing, talking about the drawing of the Arabian Marin colt that I entered in the art show at the museum. Same thing kind of happened. I was going to take, instead of shipping it because it was in Massachusetts and about an hour's drive from the Cape, because I lived on Cape Cod. It was about an hour's drive off Cape. So I printed out directions to get there and everything. And at the last minute, he decided he was going to go with me. So it was him and I and the youngest, and it was a beautiful day. I mean, the sun was out and it wasn't too hot. It was just really nice, and we were on our way to just enter my drawing into the art show because it had been accepted. So the closer we got, the grumpier he got, where he was just like really grumpy by the time we got there. Well, we could see the mansion off in the distance, but we couldn't find a road to get there. So there was a park that goes with, because they donated all their land that they'd made a park out of. So there was a park entrance. So he turned into that. And we got up to this barrier thing, and he had to pay $2 to get into the park. Right?
Oh, no, not $2.
Yeah, $2. So I handed him the $2 out of my purse real quick. It was my $2, right? So he pays, and he's really mad, and he told me he parked, and there was a visitor center. So he parked the car in the parking lot. The parking lot was full, and you could see people wandering around the park and stuff. So he goes into the visitor center. He told me to wait in the car, me and my daughter to wait in the car. So he goes into the visitor center, and behind us, like a row behind us, there was a park truck, like a park ranger truck. And the guy was on his radio. And he had a sound turned up where it sounded like a loudspeaker, right? And you hear him getting a call from somebody inside the visitor center. And the guy says, "There's a man in here that's furious because he just wants to go over and take something to the mansion, and he wants his $2 back." And I was just like, "Oh my God, please no!" And this is being like broadcast all over the park, right? And the park ranger was like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "Yeah, he came in here with an attitude. The minute he walked in the door, he already had an attitude. And he's screaming that he wants his $2 back. And he wants to know how to get over to the mansion." So the park ranger told him to give him his $2 back. And he asked what the license plate number was. And I'm like sinking in the seat, And I know the guy saw the car because he turned the sound off to where it wasn't blasting all over the park after that. And you know that son of a bitch came out and never gave me my $2 back.
Oh,
My
jeez.
God. And my daughter was in the back seat and she was like, while this was being broadcast all over, she's like, oh my God, Mom, I told you not to bring him. Anything at time has anything to do with your art, he does this. Why the hell did you let him come with us? And I was like, oh my God. It was so embarrassing. I never told him I knew what happened or that it was broadcast all over the park. I just kept my mouth shut. But oh my God. Now do you know why I'm single? I like being by myself. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy here, this is another Conte Crayon drawing in sepia tones, and it is on a piece of parchment paper that was kind of interesting to draw on. But anyway, yeah, and that one got sent to a show in Texas, and I don't remember if it won anything or not, because a lot of shows I won prizes at, and I don't remember them all. But I do know it sold at the show, so I never got it back again.
Way to
But
go.
this one, I named it, what did I name this one? Something about yarns, because he was at the Massachusetts County Fair, and he had a wagon, like a cook wagon, and just was sitting there telling stories. So, Spinner of Yarns, that's what I named it, Spinner of Yarns, because he was quite the talker. So that's that one. And you know, if anybody's bored, just say so, and we can talk about something else. Anytime, just say the word.
I'm loving this.
So next, this is a
Corky and
crayon drawing of my daughter Courtney, and it's called Corky and Mama Kitty, and it is on the parchment paper as well. And like I say, it's Conte Crayon. And I love the way that she's carrying Mama Kitty, dragging her like that, because that is so much the way that kids carry cats.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's my daughter Courtney when she was little. I always called her Corky, and she's my little redhead, and that was our mama cat that we had for years and years. So that's what that drawing is. And that drawing was at it was at a fort in Massachusetts. I don't remember exactly which one, but they had like a reenactment battle and stuff. And they had like tents set up with people like doing stuff like they would have done, you know, like in the 1700s. So this young girl was in there like doing the dishes and stuff, cleaning up after their dinner, and it is a Conte crayon on the parchment paper. These guys, I always I worked at when I was on Cape Cod, I worked for GMAC Mortgage, which went out of business during the big mortgage crisis in about 2008. But I worked there as a secretary, and I had an hour lunch, so I would always, it was in Sandwich, Massachusetts, which is on Cape Cod, and it's right by the canal. So there was like a canal and a harbor with fishing boats and stuff always there, and then a big fish market that got stuff right off the fishing boats, and I would always stop on Friday night and get a bunch of fresh fish for dinner. But I swung down there one lunchtime and it was pouring down rain. And these two seagulls were sitting on the post at the edge of the dock, and they looked so absolutely miserable and soaked, so I had to draw them. And this one is colored pencil on just a piece of, I think it was 9 by 12 pastel paper. And like I said, it's colored pencil. And this guy, I named him Ralph. And he is, of course, a pelican. And from the back, because everybody knows I love to do the buds. And it is colored pencil on pastel paper as well.
Wow.
This guy is a red-tailed hawk, and it's a charcoal drawing. And this one, I was, Rich was the guy that I was living with on the Cape that was such an idiot. But his mom lived in a retirement center, like a assisted living center, you know, where they have their own apartments and stuff. So it's not like a nursing home. It was like an assisted living place. And it was pretty nice. And it was on Cape Cod. And when you pulled into the driveway, off to the right-hand side, there was a big golf course that actually was quite large. But when I turned into the driveway, I was going to see her. When I turned into the driveway, there was this hawk that was in the shade of one of the trees, and he was eating a snake. So I pulled off real quick onto the shoulder of the road, and I figured I might get a chance to get a picture or two of him before he flew off. So it was on my passenger side, so I unrolled the passenger window, and I had a nice camera with a telephoto lens, so I just, stayed in the car because I didn't want him to fly off, and was taking the photographs out the passenger window. And every time, this is almost unbelievable to me still, every time he heard the click of the camera, he would raise his head and hop closer and then stare at me. And I took like 2 rolls of film that were like 36 pictures apiece. This was before digital. And he just kept getting closer and closer. And there was this cement block that was part of their watering system for the golf course. And he ended up hopping on top of it where he was like level with the passenger window. And like maybe 2 feet from my car, and he hopped up on top of that and was just staring at me while I was taking pictures of him. So I got some absolutely wonderful reference photos of this hawk, and I've done quite a few drawings of him.
He knew what he was doing.
Huh?
He knew what he was doing. He wanted you to get his good side.
Yeah. Well, I got his good side. I got a lot of pictures of that red-tailed hawk. And I was so excited. And back before digital, you had to like send your photographs in to get developed. And I had 2 full rolls of them. And I sent them in, and I was so excited and so anxious to get those pictures back. And thank God they turned out.
I worked at a 1-hour photo, so yeah. I don't miss it.
And this is a drawing of my youngest, and it's called the Sparrow, which if you look, that's what she's holding in her hands, is a little sparrow wrapped up in a towel. Because this was on Cape Cod, and we had a fish pond, and this young sparrow that was just learning how to fly had fallen into the fish pond and was almost drowned by the time we saw it. So we pulled it out and dried it off, and it sat on her shoulder for probably half an hour while it was drying off after we dried it off with the towel, and then it flew off. So that is happened there. And I was going to give this drawing to her, but she didn't like it. So I put it in an art gallery, and it sold right away. And then, like 5 years later, she's like, "Whatever happened to that drawing? I want it." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
It's usually is.
It's a little bit too late, kid. You said you didn't want it, and I sold it. And this was a commission of a German Shepherd. I did about 3 or 4 for this gal that has German Shepherds. This is one of them, and it's charcoal on the handmade bark paper. And this is another one of them that was for her. Another dog, different dog. I think this one's name was Murphy. And it is also charcoal on bark paper. That is me. Do you want to hear the story about this photograph?
Yes.
Hi, Griffin. So the story about this one, we only have 8 people in here. I'm probably boring people away. Well, I guess I'll just keep going for a little while. The story of this photograph is going to make you laugh. Because I was doing this painting that I just flipped by it real fast on Wednesday. It's a painting of a horse. And I hated that painting. It was a commission. And the photographs that I had to work from were like from the 1945 or something like that. And they were black and white and showed no detail and were blurry as all hell. But it was a famous wild horse that was captured in Wyoming and kind of started the whole movement to save the wild horses because it was a real pretty horse. But anyway, that whole painting was a headache to do. And the guy that I did it for, I did quite a few commissions for him, and he always wanted, he would take all the details about when it was finished and all that stuff, and what the materials were, all that stuff he would put into a packet and tape to the back of the painting so that, he had like a whole packet. Are you still there, Grasshopper?
Yes, I have to turn off the camera.
Okay.
But I am here.
So I'm boring you?
No, I had to turn off the camera.
Okay.
My dad walked in the room.
Ah, okay. So anyway, he always had a packet that he attached to the back of the painting, and he wanted a photograph to put in his packet of me working on the painting, right? And I hate photographs of myself. I just absolutely hate them. I hate to take them. I hate to show them. I hate photographs of myself. So he kept asking me if I had a photograph of me working on the painting while I was working on it. And I kept telling him, yeah, I got it, which I didn't have. So then I finished the painting and he approved it and stuff. And he's like, oh, and I need that photograph of you working on the painting. So I'm going, yeah, I'll email it to you. So I got a blank canvas and I just started like slapping paint on it and told my daughter to take a photograph of me painting so that I could send it to him and tell him I was, it was when I was working on the painting, so he'd have a photograph for his packet. So she got the photograph and I got it loaded up onto the computer. This was right after I got a digital camera. And I got it loaded up onto the computer and I was looking at it and she had taken a photograph of me with the finished painting in the background. And I was like, oh shit, look at this. And we were both laughing so hard that my face turned bright red. So I had to like move the painting and have her take another photograph of me. But that's why my face was bright red, because I was like laughing so hard I was crying. Okay, so that's the story with that photograph. And this is a charcoal drawing. This was a commission of a little boy. His name was Cody. And his dad was a rancher. And yeah, so ended up making some prints of it because his dad really wanted prints of it to give to all of his relatives and stuff. So I still have prints of it, but I've given a bunch of them to people on my Patreon, but I don't have any more at home, but I still have a whole bunch of them in storage. So when I get my truck fixed and can get in storage, I will have more if anybody's interested in one.
Can't believe your truck's not fixed yet.
Yeah, I don't have any money.
You can fix that.
Yeah, I will fix that, but like this month I got to try to come up with my rent again, so I'm going to have an auction on Monday night, people. I decided not to even try this weekend because so many people are gone and stuff, but on Monday night I'm going to have a small auction of arts. Okay, this one is a colored pencil, believe it or not. I don't remember the exact size, but it was pretty big. It was a really big drawing. And the photograph of it is just like, it's years old. It's before I even got a good camera. It was done on like an instant camera that you send the whole camera in and make a print. And then I took the print years later and scanned it onto the computer. So the photograph of it is kind of shit, but I'll enlarge it so you can see it a little bit better. But the drawing was called Iron Mountain. And I entered it in a show in Portland and won some prizes with it, but I don't remember what they were now. But like I say, it's colored pencil. And I did this drawing. It was from a rodeo in the Dalles. And when I finished the drawing, I took it to a show in Ellensburg, Washington. And it was a show where the artists like rent rooms, and then besides entering pieces into the auction and the main show, you also could rent a room, and then you like displayed a bunch of artwork in the room and sold it. People would wander from room to room, over the weekend. So I don't know if they still do them anymore, but there used to be quite a few Western art shows that way years ago. But anyway, I had it hanging in my room, and I didn't really have a title for it yet. And these cowboys came in because they had a big rodeo. They had a big rodeo on the same weekend. And these cowboys came in and recognized the horse, which personally I thought was kind of awesome for cowboys to recognize a horse. But they knew the bucking horse, and they said his name was Iron Mountain. So that's how the drawing got the name Iron Mountain. And draft horses with a whole bunch of harness. It takes me forever. And this one is the same thing. It's from a really old photograph that I had made a print of and then scanned it onto my computer. So it's really, really an old drawing. But it's just a charcoal drawing and a really old one. That is a guy from when I lived in the Dalles, Oregon. I'll blow him up. And this is the same thing. It's a scan from a print, so it's not very high quality. But there's a little bit of a story about this. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of you are at the ACA, so I didn't expect to be a lot of people in tonight. So that's why I'm kind of boring tonight. So yeah. But this old guy was at the Duffer Threshing Bee. And it's just a charcoal drawing. But there's a threshing bee in Duffer, which is outside of the Dalles. It's a little tiny town. And they do everything the old-fashioned way with, like they cut the wheat and shuck it into bundles and toss it up onto a wagon and stuff with pitchforks. And that's what he was doing, was getting the hay with pitchforks. And so I did this drawing of him. And the funny thing about this is I always used to take pictures of my drawings and stuff with slides, because way back in the dinosaur age, you could either get slides or prints when you sent your rolls of film in. And the reason that I got slides was twofold. Number one, if I got prints, then I had to deal with if I wanted to get another copy of it to use for a drawing or something, make it bigger, I had to dig up the negative. Whereas if you get it on a slide, you can just send the slide in. The slide and the negative are one and the same. So I always got slides for that reason, and for the reason that way back then, if you entered any art shows, they wanted slides. That's how you entered, is you'd send a slide in, and at the top of the slide you'd have a number and the name and the size and all that stuff. So all the art shows wanted slides, so that was the other reason I always took slides. But anyway, I did not have a slide projector. However, I had to take the little slide and hold it up to the light and look at it. So I was looking through my slides, and I was at my mother-in-law's house, and she wanted to see the drawing, the slide of the drawing, so I showed it to her. And she's holding it up to the light, looking at it. She says, "He looks really familiar." And then she turned the slide around to see if she could see his face. And it made me laugh, and I'll never forget that. Hi, Aquaballs. And then the other thing that happened with this drawing is after one of the shows in Ellensburg, I got suckered. I had this couple call me that said that they were representing different artists, and they wanted to represent me and show my work to, oh, thank you, Father Fish. You became a Patreon. Cool. So they wanted to show some of my work to collectors and stuff and represent me. So I went for it, and I sent this drawing and another drawing that were both beautifully framed, because I always get stuff professionally framed, or I always used to. So we're talking $200 per drawing for framing, which was a lot back then, because this was a lot of years ago. So I sent this drawing and another drawing with them, and never heard from them again. They wouldn't answer the phone, nothing. So they got 2 of my drawings and left with them, and I never heard from them again. So that was the lesson learned. That was a hard lesson learned. But this was one of the drawings that they got. So we're talking maybe 8 or 9 years later, I was watching a show on PBS, and it was about art collections. And they were talking to this couple that had a huge Western art collection. And son of a bitch if this drawing wasn't on the wall behind him. It kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
But I didn't bother. I mean, some people said, "Oh, why didn't you get a hold of the art collectors and da-da-da-da-da," but it wasn't their fault. I mean, this couple stole the drawing from me and sold it, So what can you say? But anyway, so that's the stories about that drawing. That's a really old drawing. And we'll see what's on next. So this one is another old drawing, and same thing. It's from a print and then transferred to my computer years later when computers were a thing. And this one I named A Whole Lot of Bull. And it was an old drawing, but it's charcoal, and it was huge. It was 20 by 30. 20 by 30 inches, which is a huge drawing. And this was from the rodeo in the Dalles. And Tucker was about 2 years old. And we'd gone to the rodeo. And I always I didn't sit in the bleachers. I would wander around taking photographs for reference and stuff. So I had positioned myself right where they ran the animals back in, like after the bull riding and the bucking horses and stuff. They would like chase them around the arena and then out through a gate. Well, I was positioned right at that gate. Not inside the arena. I was outside of the arena, and it was planks. So I was like, I had my camera lens in between the planks, and this bull went running around the arena after he bucked the rider off. And then he was running for the exit chute, and he saw me and Tucker. Tucker was standing beside me holding onto my pant leg, and he looked right at Tucker, and he like froze mid-stride and stared at Tucker, and that's what this picture is of, was when he like froze and stared at my son. And then he kept running out the chute. And I remember thinking at the time that I was really glad that fence was there, because it was a pretty big bull. And like I say, he was very interested in Tucker. So I did the drawing, and I always took it to this one framing shop. And after they got stuff framed, they would hang it up on their wall until I came and picked it up. So I go to pick it up because it was ready, and it was hanging up. It was a huge drawing. And there was this old cowboy standing in front of it talking to the owner of the shop. And, I walked in and said I was there to pick up the drawing. And he came walking over to me, and he was the owner of the bull. And he was telling me he recognized him just as soon as he walked in the shop. He recognized the bull, and we talked for a while and stuff. And the thing I remember the most about it was the bull's name was Shorty. And he said, "Yeah, that's Shorty, that fence jumping son of a bitch." And I was like, okay, that's nice to know. Because remember, I was so glad there was a fence in between me and him. And he called him that fence jumping son of a bitch. So, yeah, that's the story about that drawing. So what have we got going on in the chat? Oh, there's a fruit fly in my coffee. And that, I don't like extra protein. So he must come out. I think he got attracted to the fireball in it. Okay, he's out. Okay, so what do we got on September 2nd? Oh, that's when George is going to be a guest on Reptiles, I think. Oh, George, I want some dart frog someday too. What kind are you going to get?
Hold on, I'm gonna get some drink.
Hold on, what?
I'm gonna get some drink.
Okay.
Hello.
You don't know yet. Okay. I can't wait to see him. That's going to be cool. Okay, so we'll move on to the next drawing. Now, if I'm boring you guys, just tell me and we can talk about other stuff. All you got to do is say the word. I guess leave. You can do that too. But just doing it because it's a quiet night with a show going on and stuff. So it's pretty quiet. So I thought I'd show some of the artwork and tell stories about it. Okay, this is a charcoal drawing of my son, Tucker, with some kitties. And Tucker has the drawing, and I still have that basket, actually. But, yeah, it's just Tucker with some kitties, and it's a very, very, very old drawing. Obviously, he's like, how old is he now? 39. And this is a bull that was just out in the field, and I stopped to take some pictures of him because I liked him, and I loved his eye, the old evil eye thing going on. I'll blow it up so you can see the evil eye, but it's also one of them that's a really old drawing that I transferred over from a print, so the quality is not very good. But I like bulls a lot. And this one is a baby owl, and I do not know what kind of baby owl. It's just a baby owl. And it's got a little rat or something in its claws. And this one was done with Conte Crayon. Layers and layers and layers of it. Trying to get the really white color on it. Huh?
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, this one is another one of them that's like a really old drawing that I transferred over from a print. But yeah, it's just a baby owl. And that one was another charcoal commission for the same lady as the other two German Shepherds. And this one is a charcoal on the handmade bark paper. And it was from one of the young Indian dancers at the Crow Indian Reservation, where they they hold a big dance one weekend of summer. And you can go and watch them and stuff. Don't know what tribe he was from because they have about 5 or 6 different tribes that show up for the dances. So yeah, that was a charcoal on the bark paper. And the colors with the bark paper worked out really well for the tan of his arms and stuff, I thought. So, yep, that's that one. And this young girl is the same thing. She was at the dances. And it is also charcoal on bark paper. And that was a commission of a puppy, and it's charcoal. Charcoal. And that was a commission. I hate it, but you know, commission work is what it is. And this is a little Indian girl that lived in the Dalles. The quality of the picture is extremely poor because it was just a print that I had in my photo album, and I scanned it on the computer, and it's like really poor quality, but it was a charcoal drawing. Ended up gave this drawing to I showed it at the Ellensburg show, and I donated it to the children's hospital that they have up there. So they had it in like a silent auction, and the money went to the children's hospital.
Awesome.
And that was the commission. Charcoal on bark paper. And that is a little kid that lived down the road from me, and his name was Jason, and he was a tough shit little cowboy. And that is charcoal, and it is a killdeer. And it's just a charcoal on pastel paper. And that little guy was on his daddy's shoulder at, I think it was at the Custer's Last Stand reenactment that I went to. And it's just a charcoal. It was actually just a real quick little sketch that I did of him. So it's not like super good or anything. Because like I say, it's just a quick little on-the-spot sketch. And a couple of crows.
I love crows.
And that's charcoal on pastel paper. And that is a cougar, of course, and it is Conte Crayon, and it's on bark paper. And the handmade bark paper, every piece of it is different. And it's one of those things where you can't force what you want to draw onto the bark paper. You have to work with the bark paper. So you kind of have to know what you're going to draw on it according to the splotches and stuff on the paper. And this particular piece of paper had a lot of green in it, which you can see on the trunk and stuff, you know. So I thought it worked out fairly well for the background and stuff for this cougar, or puma, or mountain lion, or whatever name you want to use for it. And that is a Swain's hawk, and it's charcoal.
It looks pissed.
And that is a raven. And he was like in Yellowstone Park, and it was like there was snow on the ground, and it was like snowing, but that real wet, awful snow, you know, that's really slick and stuff and wet. And he was not happy at all. And this one I did for Dan Slee. Dan Slee has this drawing, and it's charcoal on the bark paper. And this is, this was charcoal on bark paper, and I used the color of the bark paper a lot on this one. But it is Sheena Bear. And Sheena is a female grizzly bear. And Sheena, I always really loved Sheena. She's I think she's still alive, but she's like really old. But she was rescued from I believe it was Texas. And her and her sister were kept in a dog crate in a guy's backyard in Texas. And they had the dog crate, and it was like maybe 4 foot by 6 foot long. And this guy was keeping 2 grizzly bear cubs in it. And they were, I don't remember exactly how old they were. I think they were like at least 5 years old when they rescued them. And her sister died of leukemia. She got leukemia and died. And Sheena, when I worked there, she was like 23 years old then, and I don't think she's died yet. But Sheena did not like people, and I don't blame her a bit, because she was rather abused. So, but she did not like people. So they had in the back, out of sight of people that's enclosed, they have like great big, huge cages for each one of the bears. Has their own cage, and it's got blankets for their bed, and they're fed back there and everything. And then that space has big doors that open up to let them outside. And the outside part is a couple acres, and it's got some ponds and stuff, and everybody gets to go out and play for usually like 4 to 6 hours during the day. And they've got, you know, certain bears that get along, that go out together, and so they usually let them out like 2 at a time. But she usually went out with Brutus. And Brutus was a big baby and spoiled and thought he was a person. So, you know, they'd let Brutus out, and he always wanted to be talked to and the occasional rub and stuff, you know. But when they let Sheena out, they swung the door around to protect themselves, so that there was a big iron like bars between them and Sheena, because you didn't mess with Sheena. Sheena was the ruler of Brutus too, and you did not mess with Sheena. Sheena did not like people, but I loved Sheena because of the story and the fact that I didn't blame her a bit for not liking people. But anyway, so that's a drawing of Sheena. And for those of you who don't know, I used to work at a bear sanctuary. So that's why you'll see a lot of drawings and a few paintings of grizzly bears. And that's the same drawing I showed first, just a different picture of it. Like I say, this is just from my files, so there's going to be doubles and stuff because it's not organized to show people. It's just files of photographs. And that is Bella the bear. And she's a little female grizzly bear cub. And she still lives at the sanctuary. And Bella was found, somebody spotted her up in Alaska, and she was up a tree. So they called the park rangers, and she was in that tree for like 4 days, and her mother never came back to get her. So they ended up like tranquilizing her and going up and getting her out of the tree because she was starving. And then the people that owned the sanctuary went up, picked her up, and brought her back home. And the thing that's funny about Bella is more so than any other bear they've ever had, she liked to climb. And there was a couple times that she was climbing on top of all the bears' dens, the adults' dens. And they about had a heart attack one night because she was like balanced on the edge of Sheena's cage. And there is absolutely no doubt if she would have fallen into Sheena's cage, Sheena would have killed her. So, but anyway, they always had to really, really, really watch her because if she got half a chance, she would be climbing. And I personally think that her mother, she probably climbed up the tree and wouldn't come down, and her mother just left her because she was like that. That was her personality. She would climb up stuff and not come down. So anyway, so that's Bella, and they still have her there. She's like 2 or 3 years old now, I think, or 4, something like that. And and that's charcoal on bark paper. And this is one, I don't remember who bought this, but I did this and sold it to somebody in the fish fam. And of course, it's a bighorn sheep, a ram, and it's charcoal on bark paper. I think Patricia bought it, if I remember right. I don't remember. It's been like a year ago that I did this one. And this is another old drawing. And it is Conte Crayon. And it's just a Labrador puppy. Uh-oh. I shrunk it down. Hang on. Gotta find where I was and start it up again. Get those ones. Get those ones. Get those ones. Those ones. There we are. We're on the skin right there. Are we still sharing?
I'll distract them.
Are we still sharing, or did it go blank?
It's blank.
Oh, okay. So I gotta reshare. Hang on. I can do this. It was my fault. I accidentally shrunk it down, so it stopped it. Okay, anyway, yeah, it's just a Labrador puppy and another very, very old drawing. And that one I don't like, so look at it quick, so I'm not going to show you again. It was a commission, And the photograph I had to work with was absolute shit. And the dog had died years ago, and all I had was a little tiny snapshot of him way off in the distance. So, but
Was
the
it a
people were
collie?
happy with it, so whatever. This is some young calves at a branding. So if you've ever been to a branding, they separate the cows and the calves, and then run the calves through and brand them. And these are just some calves at the branding. And this one, I had a drawing for this one and gave it away, and Jess Shrimp Granny won it, so she has this one, and it's just a charcoal on bark paper.
Good job, Mike.
Oh, that one we saw already. This is just a very, 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 very old drawing of a buffalo. And it's charcoal. It's another one that is just scanned from an old print. And this one is charcoal, and it's on a piece of pastel paper. And it's just horse's butt at the rodeo as a team roper. So he's like sliding to a stop, and the guy's got the rope to tie the calf's legs in his teeth. That one is a very old drawing. It's called Carnations. And that is the other drawing that was stolen from me by that couple. The old guy with a pitchfork and that drawing there are the two drawings that they took, and I never heard from them again. They wouldn't answer their phone or anything.
What do you think the value of the pictures were?
At that time, about $500 each. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a deer. I sold that a while ago to someone, I think. I don't remember who bought that one, but that is a chickadee in colored pencil. That's the same one again. That is a commission I did, and that's another one of those old ones that's like a print that I scanned onto the computer. That was a commission that I did for somebody, and I purposely, you notice the shape of it?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a heart. I did that on purpose, and they loved it. That's my daughter again. And that was a commission. And that is another one of the old drawings that was scanned, so the quality's not good. But it was a little boy at the rodeo. And I think he was playing in the dirt behind the arena. I think I named it Cowboys and Pickup Trucks, if I remember right. I see his little toy car there. And that one is another one of the really old ones that was scanned. Conte Crayon, I believe. And that is a Franz Colt in Conte Crayon. And another one that was scanned on the computer that was really old. And this one is a mule deer doe on bark paper. And it's charcoal on bark paper. And that is an owl that somebody wanted me to do on their drum for them. So it's on one of those little hand drums that you hold. And that one, this is an old, really old drawing, and these marks that are on it are on the print. They weren't on the drawing itself. It's one of them that I scanned the print. And it's an Appaloosa mare with a newborn foal. And I named it Easter Morning because on Easter morning, there was this field that had a whole bunch of Appaloosas in it. And I would drive out there once in a while and check and just take pictures of them and stuff. And this was Easter morning, and she had a brand new foal. So that's that one. And that one is a little cowboy. Same one I did a painting of that I talked about. His name was Emmett, and he was about 4 or 5 years old and was helping at a branding and cussed worse than a sailor. That little kid could cuss. And that is a commission that I did for my cousin. And it's charcoal on the bark paper. And that is one of the bears at the bear sanctuary. And it's called First Snow because it was the first time that she saw snow. And the reason I did that drawing, and actually that drawing, I sold a lot of prints of that drawing and sold the original real fast. And I've made note cards of it and stuff and put it on calendars, and that drawing was very popular. But the reason that I did it is because I was talking to a friend of mine, and a guy that's bought quite a few of my works, and I said that Lucy, that was the bear, I said Lucy saw her first snow today and it was so cute. She was batting at it and stuff. And I said, I should do a drawing of her. And he told me that I wouldn't be able to do a drawing with snow. That it just wouldn't turn out. Nobody would be able to tell that it was snow. It would just be a mess. So I did this drawing because I'm stubborn and you don't ever tell me what I can and can't do. So I did it.
Very unlike you.
And it's Conte Crayon on the bark paper. So this drawing was done because I'm stubborner than hell. And don't tell me what I can and can't do. And this little guy is a drawing, charcoal drawing on bark paper. And he's inside of a clay pot. And this is a very, very young little cottontail rabbit. And I had gone to the park, to the dog park. I went to the dog park one day with Buddy, my German Shepherd. And just as we got there, the thunder just started roaring and a big rainstorm was coming. And Buddy needed to run. I took him to run every day, so I let him run around for a while. And the rain started, and it was just like raining like buckets. And Buddy was in some bushes that were like fairly close to where I was standing in the dog park. And I heard this squealing sound. And I'm standing there in the pouring rain, and this little tiny cottontail comes running out of the sagebrush and ran and stopped right between my feet and tried to like squish up against me to get out of the rain. So I reached down and picked him up and rolled him up in the front of my t-shirt and took him home with me. And we raised him for about a month until he was like about a half-grown cottontail. And then I took him back out and released him, but I didn't release him back into the dog park because I thought that was a very bad place for a cottontail to be. So I took him out of town where there was a stream and a lot of underbrush going down to the stream and a lot of grass, but mostly a lot of trees and underbrush so he could hide from the owls and stuff because cottontails are prey for a lot of animals. So I took him to a spot that had water and stuff to eat and a lot of hiding. And we turned him loose. And it took him a while to go because he kept like, just like going in between my daughter and I, like sitting at her feet and stuff. And we kind of had to shoo him to get him to run off. But hopefully he lived a good life. But his name was Winston. And that is a drawing of Winston. Where I can go on to the next one. See, I have stories. Don't I have stories?
Love them.
Oh. And this is a drawing of Bella. This is the one that Terry has, the original drawing. and it is charcoal on the bark paper. And this is another one of that same red-tailed hawk, but this one is in Conte Crayon on bark paper. You know, the hawk that kept getting closer and closer every time the camera clicked.
Looks like he
This
wants
is
to
him.
fight.
He was staring at me. I was almost getting a little bit worried because he was only like 2 feet from the car and eye level with me, and he was staring at me. And this was a commission, and it was pretty big. I don't remember the exact size, but yeah, this was a commission for a lady of her daughter, one of her daughters, and it is a charcoal drawing. And this is 3 calves that she bottle fed, and they were out in a, once they got grown, they were just out in the pasture with the rest of the heifers. And when she went out there, they'd recognize her and they would come running for their hugs and pets. So that's what they're doing there, is getting their pets from her. And this was a heron that I did not too long ago and sold it to somebody here on the, I think, who did I sell this to? I don't remember now. I'd have it written in my email somewhere, but anyway, someone in the fish fam bought this one, and it's colored pencil on bark paper. And this is just some horses.
Horse butts.
Yeah, and it's brown pencil and charcoal on a piece of pastel paper. This drawing here, every year at Gardner, which is one of the gates into Yellowstone Park, they have a horse roundup where they move the horses, a big herd of horses, through the middle of town and up from one pasture to another. And they go through the middle of town and then up in the hills to their new pasture. And they're just like scrubby horses mostly. In fact, there was even I think they call it a zorse, that was half zebra and half horse. And there was some mules and, mostly not the prettiest horses, but just typical ranch horses. And this was a group of them. That's where those horses were from. And that is one of the dancers from the Crow Indian Dance Festival. And this is a charcoal drawing, and it's on a piece of bark paper. Oh shit, I just went black again, didn't I? Crap, hang on. I did it again. Hang on, I'll get back to it. Okay, let me go back to it. I pushed a button. Didn't I tell you to tell me to never push the buttons?
Well, we can do this now.
Yes, do the little Minnie Mouse dance. So people aren't saying much in chat. Are you like tired of this yet? We've been doing it for an hour and a half. So when you get tired of it or you're bored, just let me know.
I have 10% battery life on my camera.
Huh?
I have 10% battery life on the phone I'm using as a camera.
Oh, okay. Well, we won't go too much longer then. So, hi, Nez. So this drawing is a charcoal on a handmade bark paper. And this was actually the first piece of bark paper that I ever got. And this little boy, I'd been wanting to draw him. And I started a drawing of him on like just regular white paper. And I told you every time I did a paper order, I would order something new that I hadn't tried before, just because I like to experiment. Then I found the bark paper, and I almost exclusively do my drawings on bark paper now. But anyway, I'd started doing this drawing on a piece of white paper, and I was like halfway done with it, and about 5 days worth of work, and I messed it up. And with charcoal, there's no erasing. I mean, you'd think you could erase charcoal, but you really can't. It shows. So there's no erasing it. You go with it. But I messed it up, so I threw it away. And then about 6 months later, I got in an order of paper, and had ordered one piece of this bark paper. And I was sitting there looking at it, and it just kind of like the drawing formed in my head of that little Indian boy, so I did it on the bark paper. So this is the first drawing I ever did on the bark paper. And I thought it kind of fit the theme fairly well, the bark paper with the Indian boy, Native American. I thought it worked out rather well. So show it a little bit bigger. But yeah, I like that bark paper. It takes a lot of patience to work with it, and you gotta like go with the flow and work with the paper instead of fighting it. But I really love working with it. And this is just a Bighorn Ram and a ewe. And I don't like this drawing very much, but it is what it is. And there's that little boy again. And this I sold, I think Zen Ginger bought this one. And it is, oh my God, my mind went blank. What is it? I know what it is, but my mind just like took a turn for the worse, and I don't remember what it is now. A wood something. It's like a weasel thing that lives in the trees, and it's a predator. And I can't remember what it is now. Is anybody in chat saying what it is?
Is it up there? Martin?
Martin, yes, that's what it is. A tree martin. Oh my God, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Like I say, my mind just went blank. But it is charcoal on the real light bark paper. And Zen Ginger bought that one. Ah, God. Sometimes I'm getting old, I swear. And this is a buffalo with a newborn calf, which are called red dogs. The natives call the buffalo calves red dogs because when they're really little, they're like a sandy red color. And of course, it's charcoal on bark paper. And this one I did for Josh, otherwise known as Aquamate, and it is a drawing of his dad. And it got sent to Australia. Oh, that's my daughter again. This guy, this little bulldog. I'll tell you a little story about him, and then I think we'll call it a night because I'm tired of talking, and I'm sure everybody's tired of me talking. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, I found us. Buffalo butt, Pam's favorites. Yep. Yeah, we need to do an art stream, Nez. I will get a hold of you, and we'll do a Saturday night one, like this one. But I'll have you on up with me, and we'll work on stuff. I will get a hold of you, because you can most certainly, every Saturday night I do an art stream, and we will do one together. Nez is my artist friend. Okay, so this little guy was at the Massachusetts State Fair, and he was tied up outside of the horse barn. And I saw him, and he was just like, he was laying there like that with his head on the ground, and there were people walking on the path right by his face. And every once in a while, he would kind of roll his eyes if somebody walked by, but other than that, he never even raised his head off the ground. And I was watching him, and I absolutely fell in love with him, so I had to do a drawing of him. So, yeah. I loved him. So I did the drawing and I entered it in a club that's like really hard to get anything into. It's called the PAA. That's I think it's in Providence, Rhode Island, if I remember right. But they're a really hard club to get anything into. But I entered it in their yearly show, and it got in and sold to a guy that had a bulldog that looked almost like him. And they sent me a photograph of the guy holding the drawing with his bulldog beside him, which was pretty cool. I guess he just absolutely fell in love with it when he saw it. But then the next year, when I went to the Massachusetts State Fair, I found out that this guy, his name is Harley, and he's actually like a mascot for a beer company that's not Budweiser, but they're another beer company that had like a 6-horse hitch of draft horses, and they rode in the parade and were at the fair every year. And he was their mascot that rode on the bench of the wagon beside him, and his name was Harley. So that was a drawing of Harley. And I gave the people there at the fair a CD with the drawing on it, but I told them, they looked kind of weirded out, like I was strange for doing a drawing of him. But I gave them the CD with the photograph on it and told them I wasn't trying to sell them the drawing because it was already sold, but I just thought they'd like to see it. So I gave them the CD. So that's the story with that drawing. And we've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes, and your phone's about dead. And my talking is about dead. So
9% battery.
Where'd your ears go? Turn on your ears and we'll say goodnight to everybody. And I'm sorry if I bored you guys. There's only like 6 people in here, so I probably drove everybody off. But I decided to do something a little bit different tonight because everybody is at the fish show thing. So I knew it would be super slow tonight, so I just thought I'd show you guys some of my art and tell some stories. So there's the flasher, Grasshopper the flasher. So we'll say goodnight, everybody, and thank you for coming up with me, Grasshopper. And thank you, everybody who stuck around to look at boring artwork. And good night, everybody. And I'm going to do hopefully do an auction on Monday night. So watch for it then. We'll have a short stream then. So good night, guys. Have a good rest of your weekend. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.